What's good, everybody out there on YouTube? This is your man Shadic Stick dropping some hot fragga on this mic, and you're watching the Shadic Zone. The podcast is back. I decided that I wanted to do this for a few reasons, mostly because I get to talk about other shit in gaming without having to be on a stream, or really, I don't want to say having to think about it. I do have like notes and stuff written out, but I don't have to make like a fully structured video, if that makes any sense. I just get to talk about stuff, and that's what I want to do. Also, I kind of just wanted to do a podcast again. I know I've done it multiple times on the main channel. I shifted this show from the main channel to this channel and then back to the main channel, but I think it's going to stay on here for quite a few reasons, mostly because I get to talk about whatever I want to talk about and people will care about it, I guess. I mean, I say that and this channel has like 37 subs, but you know what I mean. But in general, make sure y'all share this out a ton. I want to make this at least like bi-weekly. As far as the show goes, and I'll upload shorts and stuff, and I want to make videos on this channel, maybe just talking about general gaming stuff. So again, make sure y'all share it out. But we got quite a few things to talk about. I wrote this last week as far as the show notes goes. It's mostly going to be talking about, as far as gaming stuff, like Nintendo's shifting towards AA, some of my thoughts about that, and just in general, the direction of Nintendo, Sony's PS3 emulator stuff, and some of their direction they're going with the company as a whole. Some gaming burnout stuff, and just in general, I'm going to do my typical manga stuff, talk about manga and anime stuff and anime games at the same time, and then I'm gonna do a whole big wrap up at the end where I talk about some stuff pertaining to the channel, pertaining to blah blah blah, so on and so forth. But first thing I want to talk about really is Nintendo shifting towards AA, which I think is actually pretty good. So in general, we know based off of their last investor meeting that they talked towards AA. I'm actually going to pull that up here now, but in general, I think that's really good. It's in this thread that I'll have down in the description below. Also, if you want me to do the show notes in like a Google Doc, I do everything in OneNote, but I can make like Google Docs for every episode, and I think that'd work. But they basically, there's a few things that they said. They understand that games are taking longer to make and are becoming increasingly more expensive, which is very true. To be honest, games taking longer to make, I think, is really just a byproduct of people requesting higher fidelity graphics and also like bigger and more expansive games. And to be honest, I think this came to like a tipping point when Breath of the Wild came out. If you played Breath of the Wild, you know that game basically revolutionized open world games in the gaming industry going forward. Every single open world game that has come out since Breath of the Wild has tried to capture some aspect of Breath of the Wild, but they really don't understand how all those, individual things in Breath of the Wild came together to make what is fundamentally one of the greatest video games ever made. Even though Tears of the Kingdom basically shits on Breath of the Wild with how good and how much they improved on Breath of the Wild, if we exclude Tears of the Kingdom out of the equation, there's very few games that I think really touch Breath of the Wild in the open world game landscape and just the AAA landscape in general. And then when you think about like the fidelity of stuff, well, Breath of the Wild's not, a super graphically intensive game. I think the demand for more graphically intensive games and really games running at higher resolutions, specifically 4K, has caused this, and also games running at higher frame rates. Now, the reason I say this part is actually because at the beginning of the current generation, the ninth generation of game consoles, the Xbox Series S, X, and PS5 started offering, frame rate and performance and quality modes. And because of that, I think gamers have gotten spoiled in a way, excuse me. And I know some people may say that's crazy. You don't want better performing games. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is game devs, I feel like they're forced to make 60 FPS modes now. I think the greatest example of this, for me at least, that in a game that I've played, is Final Fantasy 16. Final Fantasy 16 has two modes, a quality and a performance mode. The performance mode in that game runs at 60 FPS exclusively in combat. Outside of that, it doesn't even get like a thirds of the way there. Like, I think it runs at this uncapped frame rate. It's just all over the place. It's not good. It's not a great experience. It was actually so bad because, first of all, the resolution drops down to like sub HD sometimes. I think it runs as low as 720p or even lower when it's in the 60 FPS mode in combat. Yeah, it's hitting 60 FPS all the time, but it's a blurry mess. And to be honest, it destroys the way the game looks. And then outside of that, it'll run at higher resolutions, but the frame rate is so all over the place. It actually made me physically sick. I could not play it. It was hard for me to play, even with a VRR display, because if you know anything about the PlayStation 5's VRR, it only works in a 48 hertz or higher environment. And especially when you're playing a game that's in that kind of that container where it's lower than 48 FPS all the fucking time, it's not fun. It makes you physically sick if you're like, prone to noticing that stuff, which I've become over the years, super prone to, super fluctuating frame rates. To be honest, as long as it's in the same ballpark, it's fine. But when you're going from 50 to like 32 to 50 to like 45, it's just not, it's not a fun time. But when you play in a quality mode in that game, it's very obvious that the game was designed around it. The game feels good at 30 FPS. I'm just not going to sit here and cap. It looks way better. It's, I think, at 1440p. It doesn't really drop from that at all, or at least I haven't noticed it drop from something like that. And then on top of that, it's just like, how do I put it? It's just overall a more consistent experience. I think that if game devs design their games around things like being 30 FPS or even like 40 FPS frame rate caps, I think are awesome. Everything is fine with the world, but it's when they don't design their games around it that the games actually become unplayable or feel bad. I really like what Insomniac does is they give the player such a wealth of options that even if they don't like one, there's other options for them to work. Now, I will say this much. I think Spider-Man 2, I think they should have taken the approach of not having that uncapped frame rate, only because I feel like because it doesn't go that far above 60, it doesn't really matter in that game. Otherwise, I just in general, I think games are they're worried too much about, pleasing the fidelity and the performance crowd. I think, if you're going to make a really good looking game and it's, top notch visuals and you got to sacrifice frame rate, just make a stable frame rate cap, do a 30 FPS cap. If people really want more performance, give them a 40 FPS cap. If they don't have a display that can display 40 FPS, like a 120 hertz display, they probably don't really care that much about frame rate. Not going to be that guy to say that, but they probably don't care enough. And then, to be honest, you don't have to make every single game Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. And Nintendo recognizes that. I mean, even if you look at the Switch right now, there's so many releases coming out on Switch that are either remakes, AA style games, remasters, just games. They're releasing games of every tier, and I wish every company would do that. Like, I'm excited for the Astrobot game from Sony, and it looks like a AAA experience, but I think the PS5 has had like 3 or 4 games in the past like 6 or 4 or 5 years. Like, it's kind of insane. Just to keep talking about Nintendo, sorry, I'm gonna go off on this tirade. They're also not following the AI shift that the rest of big tech is, and that basically, it's just the answer to say that games have always had AI, which I think is funny. They're like, games have always had AI. We don't care about what they're doing, screw what they're doing, which I think is fine. To be honest, the only places I've seen like AI really super applicable to games in a positive way is maybe like upscaling textures in retro games to make them, make it take longer and use less manpower for something that would have looked the same if someone spent 10 hours recreating that texture. I mean, in general, there's not, I don't want to say there's not many practical applications, but what I want to say is I think Nintendo's focused on the creativity of the developers and what the developers can do by themselves. The big push for AI and all of tech has just kind of, I think, hurt everybody. It's never, I don't want to say it's never been positive, but 95% of the things that it's created for hasn't been positive. Let's be real. I mean, art theft, creation of fake videos online, fake photos, fake pictures, just in general, like making things work. Like Google is way worse since they've added the Gemini Bard stuff into Google search that you can't turn off. I remember I turned it on by accident and they were like, "Oh, you're part of the beta users," and I was like, I just want to turn this off now," and then I couldn't turn it off. Now everybody has it, so I guess I just got an early taste of the dog shit that Google was going to become. Really, the only times I've ever found it useful has been like, I guess, the circle to search function in like my phone. I mean, I think I've used it a few times, Copilot on my computer, to come up with a better video title, and even then, I just wound up like coming up with a better video title than Copilot, so it wound up being a waste of time and being useless. I guess I got to the answer a little bit faster, but that's it. So, in all honesty, I don't see Nintendo really embracing AI in this way unless they, create like an AI using, a lot of this, machine learning tech and stuff to, basically be think smarter in games. I don't know. The other application is like DLSS and super resolution and all that shit. Just gonna keep it real with you. I mean, like that's the stuff that it's best for. No, nothing super groundbreaking outside of like resolution stuff and textures and stuff. I don't know. They also have been asked about new IPs, and they, show off footage from, the latest direct. And then, I don't know. I feel like Nintendo kind of tries to have like a new blockbuster IP every single time a new platform comes out, or they have something that's like a new blockbuster IP, or they bring back something so old that people forgot about it. Like, I think, all the Nintendo Wii stuff was very obvious, but like, let's take the Wii U. I mean, Splatoon broke out on the Wii U. That was like, I guess, like one of the most successful things to come from the Wii U. And nobody thinks of it like that. Like, Splatoon is massive. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's sold like 40, 50 million units as a series, and it's only had 3 entries. And, like 40, 50 million or 99% of that is from the Switch, even though it was super popular on the Wii U. I felt like they were trying to do the same thing they did with Splatoon with ARMS. They had competitive shooter or whatever that people were really invested in. And to be honest, it's like the first like real true live service that I remember playing. Like, we could say, oh, we've had online games forever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about like a game that feels like a service. Splatoon is the first game I've ever played that was like that. And I think they were trying to do that with ARMS, but just didn't succeed. ARMS just had too many issues. I liked ARMS. I mean, I thought ARMS was a really good concept. And actually, I thought it was like a solid game. I think ARMS just cost too much money. It's too much to ask people $60 for that when it didn't have as much content as it should have had at launch. On top of that, just a lot of things with Nintendo Switch's online infrastructure it's just not there. And on top of that, I feel like they should have done things like, one of the big things was like nerfing grabs. I think they did it like half a year after the game came out, and still it didn't do that much for it. There was this one YouTube channel I was watching, and I watched, and this isn't to slander them. I mean, like, they were putting a lot of effort into keeping the ARMS community alive. They had ARMS highlights, et cetera. And it just was sad watching the channel die over time because they couldn't do much to really keep that game afloat. It was just a dead game. The community had run its course. I hope to see something like that again. Hopefully we get like an ARMS 2 and they just knock it out the park. But I don't know. I wonder what Nintendo's going to do for the next system. In all honesty, they're focusing their shift towards AA, so hopefully we get something like an ARMS 2. Maybe it's 40, $50 instead of 60, and it pops off. That's really the only thing I can say. I'd also like to see some other franchises. Like, I think Sin and Punishment could really fit well into that AA tier. Mostly because I feel like not a ton of people would pay $60 for an on-rail shooter, but it was also really cool. I never got around to beating it on the Wii, mostly because when I was playing it, I was actually moving out and moving into the previous apartment I was in with my girlfriend, and now I'm at the current one. I haven't hooked up the Wii, just don't have space in here, but I hope to one day set it up so, I can sit down and finish the game. Let's move on to some other stuff. I want to talk about Sony. First of all, them working on PS3 emulation on PS5. And before this, I was going to toss in the topic of Sony on PC. I'm still going to do that. It's just not in the notes, so it's going to be a little bit more off the cuff. But we know that Sony is developing a PS3 emulator for the PlayStation 5, and it's going to be for select titles. I think they're doing something akin to what Microsoft did with the Xbox Back Compat program. Not every PS3 game will be included, and it will likely work how PS2 Classics works now. I'm pretty sure, games run at the same resolution and frame rate that they did on the PS3. I just hope we see some FPS boost and resolution stuff like Xbox did, because I feel like that's the best route to take, especially with the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3 is notorious for having really bad ports and that generation in general just having really bad performance. If you played games, especially multiplayer games during that generation, you knew games were gonna run in at 12 frames per second and it would just be fine. I remember I saw someone play Crysis on the PS3, and that was one of the first times I really noticed a game, it's frame rate just chugging. I was like, dude, how are you playing this? This is making me want to vomit. It was that bad. I mean, in general, I'm really excited about this. I wish they could make a general emulator that would work with almost maybe 95% of the PlayStation 3 library, right? And then add trophies, or not even add trophies retroactively. They already have trophies for these games. Just be like, hey, detect what game I'm playing. I'm playing Metal Gear Solid 4, which got trophies fucking 5 years after the game released. The game came out in 2007, 2008, and then it got trophies in 2013. It was weird. But still, you see what I'm saying? I feel like they should really work to make this as broad as possible, because despite the PS3 not having games, I have a pretty sizable PlayStation 3 library, and I'd like to play a lot of those games. In all honesty, I just find it comical how bad Sony has preserved its history, considering the PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 were about preserving that history, if that makes sense. PS4 was a clean cutoff, and I get why they couldn't put PS3 games on the PS4, but why couldn't you play PlayStation 1 and 2 games? Especially PS1 games. The PS3 could run PS1 games, and in its emulator, a lot of those games ran so much better on the platform. I just don't know how they thought it was okay to do that. Just wanted to say that. In general, I'm hyped though. Hopefully we see something positive come out of this, and we see a lot of PlayStation 3 games get moved up to the PS quintuple, and maybe the PS quintuple will have games. I say that, but the PS3 didn't have games, so being optimistic here, but jokes aside, I want to talk about something else. This isn't so much of a news topic as it is just something I wanted to talk about, and that's gaming burnout and really how to fix it. I have had burnout in general in life a lot recently, and to be honest, games don't really help it like it used to. And I guess that's because I'm getting older and just things are just burning me out in general a lot more. But there was a hot minute where I wasn't playing any games, and there are weeks I go without playing video games. Despite this being a gaming channel, despite so much of the content I make online being gaming oriented, there's times where I don't get to play games, mostly because work burns me out, just life burns me out. Sometimes shit happens, and there's nothing you can do about it. I got to pull up the big boy pants and take on life full force. But I recently started playing a lot of games again. How did I fix that? Well, there was a few things that I did. I think the first thing I realized was I was trying to play way too many fucking games at one time. So I was just all right, I'm gonna whittle it down to 2 or 3 games. Maybe it's per platform, maybe it's per style of game, maybe it's game length, which is a big one for me. And I just realized, maybe one day I play one game. One game I play the other. One day I play the other. Now, sometimes I get in the habit of playing too many games at once still, but I catch myself a lot of the times before I start really burning out quickly. And then on top of that, I feel like live service games, specifically Fortnite, because I got hooked to Fortnite in a dangerous way for a little bit. But like trying to keep one as your main and really investing into that game. You know, as much as I've been playing games like X Defiant, say for instance, I really like it. It's like it feels like classic COD with some of the more modern shooter sensibilities, especially a lot of the hero shooter shit, but less so. It doesn't feel like I'm forced into any one class. What I was gonna say, it's like try to keep one of those as your main game if you're gonna play like a bunch of live shooter games, like one of them, or live service games. My bad. Because if you don't, you will burn out quick. Because I think at the same time I started playing a lot of Genshin Impact because I was still in the first area and I was spending time doing things because it's an open world game and I get pretty absorbed into them. But then I was just like, I need to do the other stuff. And then I got to Leeway and then I realized I don't like Genshin Impact, mostly because I feel like they sold you one thing and they gave you another. On top of that, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Genshin has this problem of getting super, super, super repetitive in an unfun way. And I know that's how gacha games roll. I used to play Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key or Union Cross, blah, blah, blah. I invested a lot of time into that. I've invested a lot of time into a lot of gacha games. It's a free to play. So I know the grind can be real, but I just felt like with Genshin, it was like they want to get you hooked in a time sense that you want you to sink in a lot of time. And once you sink in a lot of time and you get to like Leeway, they just start hitting you with walls. Oh, you got to be level 50 to do this. Oh, characters or enemies are like 20 levels higher than where you are. Oh, you want to get here? You got to get to this part of the story or spend like $20-$30, bro. And then I realized when I was, I would watch these YouTubers, they'd be like, level 90. I think I got to like level 30, 40, 50, something like that. But I see them like level, super high level, and I'd be like, bro, these niggas dropping money. And then like, you see him do all those roles and shit. And I think I was watching Intashed and he went on a free to play thing. And I'd be like, damn, dude, this game is just a money sink. It's not worth my time anymore. So I stopped playing it. But in general, just really trying to keep to one live service game. It doesn't have to be multiplayer. It could be a gacha. It could be Genshin. That's fine by me. I mean, I don't really care what you play in that. It's your time and your money. But alongside this, I think you need to have like one short game you're playing and one long game. It could be more just, adjust it to what you can handle at the time. Like right now, the one long game that I'm super invested into right now is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Still haven't beaten the game because I got that open world fatigue and then I stopped playing it for a minute. I just stopped playing. I was like, it's too much. And then I played, a short game. Like, I think in this time I beat like Tori, the first one. I just played the whole game again. I played this game called Lunistis. It's really good. If you haven't played it, pick it up. It's really reminiscent of a lot of like Saturn era or PS1, PS2 era 3D platformers. It's really good. I think the thing I can compare it to the most to is like really Sonic because it's really focused on you committing to a lot of different actions and really how your movement and momentum carries throughout the stage. And then you start getting Terrell grind sections and you're like, okay, it's like Sonic. Like at first I was like, oh, this is kind of like, a cool little, PS2 era platformer or PS1 era platformer. And then I was like, it's like Sonic and Crash Bandicoot. And I hate Crash Bandicoot, but it was like Crash in a good way, I feel like in some areas. I don't know. It's just a good game and pick it up if you haven't. I got to pick it up on PC because I played it on Switch and I don't think Switch has the DLC and the extra content and stuff. So pick it up on PC if you want all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, even right now, I'll talk about it in a few. Like, I got some other games that I'm playing, and some of them fit that criteria. Like, I'm playing Octopath Traveler. I'm enjoying it. I had to start from the beginning again, but, I pick it up, I play a couple hours, put it down, go do something else. And I do that, like, once a week. And then, what was I going to say? And it's just really important for people, specifically that make content on games, in all honesty, like me, that, just streamline how you play games, make them not feel like a chore. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but like my main channel, right? Not this one. I talk about Sonic. I learned I have to not play Sonic games. if that makes any sense. Not like, oh, you know, I can't sit down and play a Sonic game when I enjoy it, but it got to a point where I played so much Sonic that I hated Sonic. Not because I thought the games were bad, it's just like I couldn't enjoy myself. I'm just thinking about what people are saying, or, you know, the things I'm talking about on my channel. I'm not thinking about just playing the fucking game, and that was the issue. In all honesty, like, I think, comment down below, let me know if you've gotten burnt out on gaming and what you did to fix it, because that's how I fixed it. In all honesty, I sat down and had to figure it the fuck out. I think this is a good, like, system to, especially if you make content or you have a busy life, whatever, to really actually sit down and play games. Some other things I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about some anime games, dude. Some anime game stuff. Like DB Sparking Zero. I wanted to make videos on the main channel about this game because I love the Tenkaichi games. I play, to be honest, if I was not a Sonic tuber, I would be like an anime game YouTuber. Specifically, I'd play the shit out of Dragon Ball games, because especially, you know, the Tenkaichi games, Raging Blast 1 and 2, I was super into. I wanted to get back into, or I wanted to try to make that content when Fighters came out, but Fighters disappointed me at an unprecedented level. I like Fighters. It's just that the content wasn't there. I was expecting content. One thing, Dragon Ball games, even the bad ones, have like a shit ton of content. Like Xenoverse 1. I really loved Xenoverse 1. I got Xenoverse 2 on PC, and then, like, I realized, I was like, dude, Xenoverse is not that good. But Xenoverse 1, I put a lot of time into. Love that game. But then I was like, oh, you know, it's like, it was like, I want to make videos on this. I couldn't really at the time. Didn't have proper capture card and stuff. It's just, I don't know. Sparking Zero just looks great. I want to make videos on it. I want to talk about it. Maybe I'll do it on this channel. Let me know in that comment section down below, but it looks awesome. We're getting a new Bleach game finally. It's Rebirth of Souls. I'm a little disappointed that it is an arena fighter, but I'm fine with it as long as it's a good game. Really, all I ask for anime games to be is like good, because we've gotten so much dog shit. Now, the arena fighter thing is mostly because, you know, everybody saw what CC2 was doing with Storm, and they made every single anime game an arena fighter. And ironically, Spike Chunsoft, the developers of the Tenkaichi series, developed damn near every single one of those shitty ass arena fighters. I wish it was like a character action game. I feel like that would have fit Bleach a bit better, but I do think a fighting game fits Bleach perfectly fine, because damn near every Bleach game before, outside of like the mobile games and like Soul Resurrection, which was the last one that came out like, what, 8 years ago, has been a fighting game. I mean, the first Bleach game I played was on like PS2 or GameCube, and it was an arena fighter, but it was like Power Stone. It was like Power Stone Arena Fighter, not like, you know, Storm Arena Fighter or Tenkaichi Arena Fighter, if that makes any sense. I don't know. I'm just really excited for it as a fan of Bleach. People have been eating, even though I haven't watched the 1,000-Year Blood War anime adaptation, I'm kind of waiting for all the cores of it to come out, because I know they're doing, I think, 4 cores, and their core 3 comes out at the end of this year. I don't know. I'm excited as a Bleach fan. Really, we haven't been eating for a minute. I've gotten tired of the Bleach slander, you know. I need my boy Ichigo Kurosaki to save anime games. The next thing I wanted to talk about, you know, the segue, you know, sort of anime game stuff. I was talking about Genshin earlier, but let's talk about MiHoYo again, because I want to talk about Zenless Zone Zero a little bit. Now, I haven't gotten to the super gacha side of it yet. I'm only within the first 45 minutes to an hour of the game, but I like what I see, but it's really par for the course as far as MiHoYo action games go. Excuse me. Now, I have seen like the Twitter discourse over Zenless Zone Zero is too basic. The combat is too basic. Why are you hyping this up? You have to remember that MiHoYo is making these games for mobile phones first and foremost. As good as it may look, you got to remember phones can produce those type of graphics now. At 60 FPS, 120 FPS, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Like, this is a mobile game first and foremost. Stop thinking it's like some console tier or PC tier. I say PC tier. The PC, you know what I mean? It's not some AAA fucking game. It's a gacha game meant to, you know, get people hooked into the gambling side of mobile gaming. Let's be real. But You know, it's simple, it's fun, it plays more on how you string attacks between characters than how the individual units work by themselves. Genshin is a little bit like this, which is what I liked about Genshin. Is just Genshin got so unfun that I didn't want to play it anymore. I'm worried that'll happen in this game, but less so because it's not like a super. I mean, it may get more open world, but it's more mission based than Genshin is. So I hope that happens. You know, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope it continues to be fun. You know, I can pick up, play for a couple hours, turn off my brain, have fun, you know, get off, go to bed. But, you know, the biggest question is, does it lack depth? I mean, if you're going in with the grand scheme of, you know, character action style games, yes, but it's a mobile game first and foremost. And at the end of the day, I don't really think you should give a shit about how deep the game is if it's fun to you. I think, like, the people who are saying it has a lot of depth, you're lying to yourself. But the people who are slandering people for liking it, I think, are just as bad, because I don't think there's anything wrong with liking the game or having fun with it, because the combat, despite how simple it is fun. People are shitting on the game for not having, you know, like a jump button, but like, if I remember correctly, like, not Killer 7, but I forgot what it is. It's one of the grasshopper games or whatever. If I can pull it up here, I'll figure it out. But it's like Killer is Dead. Killer is Dead is a fun action game, but it doesn't have a jump button. Mad World doesn't have a jump button, if I remember correctly. I've beaten it like 3 times, but I don't remember it. The last time I played it, I recorded the whole game and wound up not making a video on it. I just didn't. Like, it's just one of those things where I feel like that isn't like a proper way to, I guess, judge a game, is by necessarily how deep it is, but more so by how fun it is. Now, sometimes those things, you know, collide, but at the same time, again, for a mobile game, I don't think it really fucking matters. So let's talk about some games I've been playing. I mean, I just brought up Zenless Zone Zero, but I'm also playing FS7 Rebirth still. I talked about that earlier. I'm playing Bomb Rush Cyberpunk for the first time. I've had it for months, and I just wanted to wait to make a video on Jet Set Radio. I was gonna do it before BRC came out. Wound up not doing it. Got focused on other things in life. But I'm really enjoying that game. The game is really, really fucking good. And I'm glad I wound up actually sitting down to play it now, making a video on it. Hopefully it's out on the main channel soon. It's going to be a Mob Shadic 100, so higher production value video, whatever. Again, I've been playing Fortnite. I play it every season. This season I liked a lot at the beginning, but my issue is I think Fortnite is a perfect example of when to not listen to your competitive players, because to be honest, they're probably not the people you make the most money off of. They're the people who will keep the game alive in a lot of cases, but for Fortnite, I don't think anybody gives a shit about the competitive scene. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean so many people play Fortnite that they do not give a fuck about, you know, clicks or, you know, all these other people. That's not to say that, you know, they aren't to be respected, but like sometimes don't respect their opinion because they don't know what's fun for everybody else. Like, oh my god, cars in the main game, but this needs to be nerfed and taken out of the game. No, just remove it from the competitive and ranked playlist. I really hate that they nerfed those things when they were like some of the most fun shit put in Fortnite in a while. Same thing with the Nitro Fist, with Nitro in general, those, you know, the boss cars not taking damage at all. That was all fun shit, man. And they took it out, because the competitive players complained. And then I'm still playing through Nier Automata. I just did the first 3 endings or whatever. I think I'm on the next playthrough technically or whatever. I'm on the one that's after 9S, so I'm on like the 3rd one. I'm still on 9S's. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Whatever it is. So however convoluted Nier is, Yoko Taro, he's got me invested, but I sit down and play it like 2 or 3 times a month, you know, and I play it in like long sessions so I can get through the stuff. You realize the RPG stuff matters less and less the further you get into the game. That's really not my only gripe with it. Also, the enemy variety isn't there. It just feels like combos and shit don't matter, even though it's pretty heavily. Like, it feels like the game should be Kingdom Hearts, but it's not, because Yoko Taro is wanting to do his own thing, which I think works in the grand scheme of things, especially in the storytelling aspect. But I think it hurts the game from like a gameplay aspect. Like, if you didn't enjoy the story, you wouldn't play the game anymore after, really even after the first playthrough. I don't even think you'd get through the first playthrough, in all honesty. Because like that first playthrough is so long, and then the second one takes half the amount of time, even though you're going through the same whole story. The only thing that is a problem is like your heavy attacks, instead of being heavy attacks, are now you hacking things and blowing them up in 2 seconds. Like, it just makes the game so much less fun. Then we have Octopath Traveler. I'm on my getting my third, or I got my third person. I got Alphen. I started with Ophelia, I believe. So there's that. And like I said, Zenless Zone Zero. Games I really want to hop back into are Pseudo Regalia. As far as I know, and what I've looked up, I'm at the very end of the game. I just haven't beaten it. When I made that video, I was really liking the game. The game's pretty hard as far as like some of the platforming goes. And just like it has the issue of like, it's a Metroidvania, but the game is styled like one really big Zelda dungeon, if that makes any sense. Like, I get Metroidvanias are like really big levels and expansive, but it just feels like I'm doing so much backtracking that I'm getting fatigued. And again, that's why I don't play a ton of Metroidvanias, because I get fatigued pretty easily off of stuff like that. But that's why I haven't beaten it. I need to hop back into Severed Still. It was a game. It's a shooter that I was playing. It's pretty fast paced. It's pretty good. And then Bright Memory Infinite. I think I got about halfway through that game. Then I stopped playing it on my old PC. I got my new PC. I downloaded it again. And there was just latency issues. It was really weird. So I decided I'm going to put it off to another time. Let's go on to some other stuff. Let's go to some anime news and discussion. I say anime, like anime and manga news and discussion. Demon Slayer Season 4 just ended. And I know they're doing so the final arc is going to be a movie trilogy. And I just think Ufotable delivered again. The only thing that made me upset was that whole like 4-minute sequence introducing Muzan. Because Muzan is not that raw. He's not really a super raw ass villain. He, in my eyes, he's kind of a baby back bitch. And the whole final fight of that season kind of, solidified he's a baby back bitch. Because he's getting his ass kicked, and then he does his little castle shit. He's like, I can't kill these niggas. Let me drop them in a thing of a castle of 1,000 demons. Or, maybe my thousands of demons can take care of them. I don't know. It was good. I think Demon Slayer overall is good. There's not been anything that I outright disliked about Demon Slayer. It's just like they were trying to make a nigga who was not all that. That's really it. Some people are upset that the final arc is a movie trilogy, but I actually think that's good for Demon Slayer. A lot of people hate the movie release shit or the theater shit, but I think because the production value of Demon Slayer is so good and it's been so high, they can do it. I'm 100% fine with it. Oh no, it's this final arc is 3 movies, but it's like 50 chapters, I think. Something like that I looked up. So I don't know if I should read Demon Slayer before I go into this, because I haven't read it at all. Usually what happens is I read this stuff, but it's so visually appealing that I can't, do it. Also, I don't like this take on Twitter where people were like, there's a sensory overload when the Stone Hashira niggas started fighting against Muzan. They were like, oh, you can't see anything that's happening. To be honest, that's because of Twitter compression. If you watched it, even in Crunchyroll's like compression stream, it like you could tell what is happening. My dude is just slashing a shit ton. They're like, it's too much on the screen. I'm like, dude, it looks good. To be honest, it's not that long, so I don't see why it's a problem, especially because the rest of Demon Slayer is so like purposeful in the way they choreograph things. Like, people are like, I think especially in the Rengoku fight, they're like, oh, this isn't really all that good. And I just feel like you're a fucking moron if you say that. I'm gonna keep it real with you. That shit looked beautiful. Like, the whole point is the shit is supposed to be flashy. Everything's on fire. And it's something that a lot of other series would have it would have been gassed up for. I mean, I think, like, say for instance, if that's the case, then the whole fight sequence from Dragon Ball Super Broly, or the whole fight, is garbage by that means. I don't know. It felt like everything was, like, usually in Demon Slayer for the most part, it's purposeful. So why go out of your way to try to shit on it? You know what I mean? I don't know. It's like one of the few series that has, like, I don't know how they treat their workers. I'm not going to sit here and comment on that, because I know the anime industry or the animation industry in Japan is notable for overworking people. It's consistent, which you cannot say about most anime series. Like 95% of them, the animation is not consistent. The pacing, even for something like this last arc was 8 episodes, and I think the whole arc in the manga was like, what is it, like 10 chapters? So if that's the case, I didn't feel like it was dragging at all. Like, come on, man. I don't know. It's one of the few, like, adaptations that I feel people want to hate because it's not really their favorite. It's not their favorite series. And admittedly, like, the Demon Slayer's writing isn't, like, the most appealing thing about it. It's really the fights and the action, but still, that, like, I feel like you're trying to dunk on a series for doing basically all the things right from a production standpoint that people want. It's just not your series, so you get upset about it. And then I want to move on to Kagurabachi. Kagurabachi's heating up. You know, if you don't know anything about Kagurabachi, it is the series that is currently saving Shonen Jump and Shueisha. It's God's gift to mankind, and I'm atheist. It's in its second major arc, and it just keeps getting better every chapter. Like, I just don't know how Hokazono, I think that's his name, the mangaka, or her name, or their name. I just don't know how they continue to do so well. There's like a image that surfaced up recently. It was just an image that they drew, and it was like, it was very obviously one of the fights in the manga, but it was like they drew this before they even knew the plot to Kagurabachi, and I was like, dude, you just fucking manifesting some shit, man. That's insane. Like, it was great art, all that stuff. Sorry, probably not gonna put it up here because this is gonna be like a 45-minute, 1 hour long podcast or video or whatever, but still, it looked awesome. Hopefully when it gets an anime adaptation, people are like, I don't want Ufotable to do it. Ufotable is the perfect studio to do it. After watching Demon Slayer, a series about swords and sorcery and demons and shit, and Kagurabachi is about at least 2 of those things, swords and sorcery, my nigga. Like, come on, like, this is what you would want. This is what I would want. I would want it to be that beautiful. They went and get the choreography. Shut the fuck up. Shit's gas. And then there's also Soccer Days, which I didn't put in here. Soccer Days is really hard for me to read weekly because I was reading it in bulk, and that's also peak. It's Aura the manga. Like, how did he beat him? He had aura. That's all that matters. You know what I mean? I know it's getting an adaptation soon through Netflix. I forgot what studio's doing it. Everybody's worried about it, rightfully so, because it's a really good series, and I feel like it deserves to have, you know, justice done to it, to be honest. Like, an Ufotable level production. People want Mappa to do it. I don't remember who's doing it. Don't do Mappa. Mappa treats their employees like garbage. Amazing animators there. Treats their employees like garbage. And then, to be honest, JJK and MHA are coming to their end soon, I think. Or I don't know if JJK is. I think it's coming to a close within the next year or so. But MHA ends in August. And My Hero has been a run for me. That's one of those series, like, when you get on early, it's a ride. To be honest, My Hero's biggest issue is its anime adaptation. The manga is so good. Don't get me wrong. I think at the beginning of the anime, the first 2 2.5 seasons, I guess, adapted the manga in such a way that I believed it was better than the adapted the anime in a way that it was better than the manga. But I don't know what they did during season 3. I switched. I was like, oh my God. And this season, was it the last season? I feel like they really fumbled a bag. It was either last season or season before that, where I just feel like they really fumbled a bag. I have an issue with how Bones is adapting this. I know they had Mob Psycho 100, the last season of that during one of the seasons, and it just felt like really My Hero was a way to funnel money into Mob Psycho 100. I actually remember the exact season it was. It had to be season 4. I don't remember if it was season 4 or season 5. I don't really give a fuck. All I remember was there were 2 scenes of Endeavor in CG. And I remember watching it. Now, I know the average person was not going to pick it up, but I have an eye for that shit, I feel like. And I was like, that's CG. And to be honest, I wanted them to use CG going forward. I think they have this season with the Shigaraki fight in the, what's it called? The Prison in the Sky. But it's like, if you gotta use it to make the production better, go ahead and use it. It just felt like they were using it as a cheap way to get through the scene, because the next, literally, like, it was like he moved forward 2 steps, then they had a close-up of his face, and where he was just, doing the anime lip flaps. And to be honest, it was really dumb, because they could have just had him do that as CG unless they didn't finish his face. And then he walked forward a couple steps, and I think they had his face done too. That's what made it weird to me. I was like, why? And it was so close up. It wasn't even like far away. It was like close up. And I don't know. It was just weird. But my boy Deku's going to be working at McDonald's. And that's all I got to say to not spoil that too much for anime onlys. And then Kaiju number 8. I want to talk about Kaiju number 8. The first season came to an end. I think it's really good. I think it adapted the manga well. My only problem with it is I know why the art style is rounder than the manga, but I feel like in areas, production IG, it's either Wit or IG who's working on this. I don't remember. They also worked on Attack on Titan. And when they did Attack on Titan, they changed the art style from the manga for at least the first 2 or so seasons. The first 2 seasons, and I think the third season, the first core of the third season, they had translated the manga art style in a way that it still looked like Attack on Titan, but it was a lot rounder and a lot less rough. And then the second half of season 3, the art style got a lot more rough, like the manga. And I say rough in a good way. Like, there's a lot of high frequency details and lines on the outlines of characters. Their faces have a lot more lines, facial structure, like all that stuff. I just feel like they were trying to do the same thing here, but I think some of how just what Kaiju number 8, the manga, was doing was lost, especially in the physique of a lot of characters. Like, you have a lot of characters now that just look like blobs. You know what I mean? Like, Kafka looks like a blob, not like a middle-aged man who's very obvious, like, been, I don't want to say working out, but he has the dad bod, the construction worker bod. Like, stuff like that is, I feel like, lost in translation from the manga to the anime. A lot, also, like, some of the scenes, like, again, their faces are a lot rounder. Or the captain of, the first squad, his face, when his hair's up, doesn't look right. And I also don't like some of the color choices. I like the palette, but some of the color choices, like, his hair is supposed to be, like, light purple in the front, and it goes purple to, or black to purple, so the tips are darker purple, and the rest of his hair is like black. This is in like the colored art for the series, right? Where it has shading and shit. Like, I'm not saying like, it's like awful by any means, but I feel like that manga art and the way what they took away from the manga and adapted into the anime could have been done a little bit better in that regard. Otherwise, pacing's great, story's great, voice acting has been great, music has been phenomenal. I like that they're being unique and they're using Western bands and, musicians in their openings and endings. I think that's pretty unique. Not the first anime, manga, or whatever that's going to do, or I say manga. And it's not the first anime series that's going to do that, and it's not going to be the last. But I think it's pretty unique, especially for how big it is. It was all around really enjoyable. I really, really liked Kaiju number 8 and what they did. in all honesty, it's just one of those things that I feel like people don't realize that this shit is about the pop. I feel like this second season really is gonna be what like makes Kaiju number 8 pop off even more, like a Demon Slayer, Demon Slayer, My Hero level type shit. You know what I mean? Like big anime series. Because like I remember when My Hero season 1 came out, like My Hero popped off, but I don't think it was till that second season that like niggas were on that shit, like really on it, if you know what I mean. Otherwise, I want to talk about some stuff. My setup obviously has changed. If you've watched some of my streams on the main channel, I'm in a new apartment. I've got some panels and stuff. My girlfriend got me those nice disc plates over there. I want to do like a setup video on this channel, so subscribe to see that. It might be a short, it might be an actual full video. I don't know yet. Otherwise, the only thing I got to really worry about is this chair. This chair I took from my mom's old office. She said, go get one because my other chair broke. I think I broke it on stream or something. I threw it during like a Smash reveal. Or no, I had actually had another chair after that one, and that one just broke. It just broke. It was old. I got it from like a scrap heap or something like that. I don't remember, man. I just know I need another chair. I'm thinking about doing throne.gg, but I don't know yet. Tell me if you'd like me to do that, if you want to donate to help me get a new chair. Because chairs are expensive and I want a comfortable one, so I'm not like killing my back because I stand on my feet all day. I walk like 10 miles a day at work, so that's why. And honestly, I've been working on my cable management, and I'm working on it for that video. Maybe I do like 2 shorts. Oh, I finally cable managed my desk. It's all great now. And I also want to get like a monitor arm for this monitor that's to the right here. There's a big one that I do all my console gaming on, but right now I have the OBS Studio overlay. That's why you keep seeing me look over here. That's why you keep seeing me look over there instead of at the camera, because the camera is between this and my laptop, which is right here, and then this other monitor on the side that I also use. This is my main secondary. I say my main second. This is my secondary monitor. I use the laptop screen, which is a 14-inch Asus Zephyrus G14 from 2023, as the main monitor. Which some people may say, why? Why would you do that? And that's mostly because I don't know, something about the smaller monitor makes me focus way more intensely on it. Like I've tried replacing it with this other one. Doesn't work because the one on the left is a 27-inch 1440p 144 hertz monitor, and my brain even when I was trying to use it as the main one, I couldn't focus. Just something about it. I don't know. I'm weird. But yeah, help your boy out by subbing, liking, sharing this out, man. Because in all honesty, like I'm gonna try to like build stuff up again, and I really want to do this way more often because I really enjoy just talking like this to you guys. Just anything you talked about today. If you have topic suggestions, link in the description. Join my Discord. Go to the video request portion of it, and then just type, "Hey, this is a subject I want to talk about on the pod, or I want you to talk about on the podcast." I may do it, may not. I might actually use that video requesting as like a thing for subjects more often than not for the podcast. Check out my main channel if you haven't. It's pretty good content. I just recently made a Jet Set Radio video, but notably, I made that 2024 perspective on Sonic Adventure, the original one. So, go ahead and like and share that one out too. And then on top of that, make sure you follow me on Twitter because that is where I am the most active, in all honesty. Like, just join there. Just go ahead and follow me on there. Anytime I got to talk about videos and stuff, I'll talk about it on there. I'm going to start trying to use the community page on my main channel a bit more, but otherwise, that's where you can find me. But this is me, man, Shadic Stick. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Share this out with your friends. I may or may not put this on Spotify. I put the first episode of the podcast on Spotify. Second one, I didn't. I think I'm going to do this one. So go ahead and, if it's on there, I'll put it in the link in the description or something, or I'll make a comment. Just let me know if you want it on Spotify, and I'll do it. But this is me, man, Shadic Stick, and I'm out. Peace, and have a good one. Excuse-moi. Thank you for listening.